Sir, very happy evening to all.
Happy evening, sir.
Sir, we are nearing our mission to hit a century. Yes, sir. Till the last slot, we have done 91 questions out of 100. Sir, in this slot, we are going to do 3 questions from payment of tax. This is very important area for examination. This will be the first question in your question paper. Determine the GST liability. Determine the GST liability will be the first question in your question paper. So, it is very important area. I am doing illustration number 76. Following are the details of purchases, sales, etc. effected by Mrs. Tab and Co., a registered manufacturer under the CGST Act. Purchase raw material A from local dealer 86,100 inclusive of GST at 5%. Up in the 86,100 kulla enna irukku? Appo sir total comes to 86,100. So total 86,100. Correct? This is including GST. How much percent? 5%. Up a calculator. 86,100 divided by 105 into 5. Into 5. 4,100. What is the cost? 8600 minus 4,100.
82,000.
82,000. This is for raw material A. I am coming to raw material B. Purchase raw material B from local dealer 1,12,000 inclusive of GST at a percentage? 12%. This is for raw material B. So raw material B value 1,12,000. What is the GST? 12,000. What is the cost? 1 lakh. Purchase capital goods from within the state. That means it's a state supply. To be used in manufacture of taxable goods. How much rupees? Inclusive of GST at 12%. Depreciation at 15% is to be charged. Up in the 1,96,000 kula GST irka? Evlo percent? That can be taken as ITC. Appo capital goods. Evlo value? 1,96,000. What is the GST? 21,000. What is the cost? 1,75,000. Are you really with me? Sir, other direct and indirect expenses 55,460. Earned 5% profit margin on any cost, total cost. During the tax period, only 70% of the production is sold within the state and applicable GST rate being at 12%. Calculate the amount of CGST, SGST payable after utilizing ITC credit, assuming no opening balance of input tax credit is available. Are you ready with me? Yes, sir. Shall I find out the cost of production? Yes, cost of production raw material A cost 82,000. Raw material B 1 lakh. Raw material C capital goods cost 1,75,000. Will you charge entire value of capital goods or depreciation? Depreciation on the value of the asset. 1,75,000 into 15% comes to 26,250. Correct? Tell me other expenses given in the question. 55,460. Correct? Sir, shall we add the profit? Correct? Shall we find out the total cost first? Tell me, where in the cost to the total cost? Ella say 2,63,710. Add profit at 5%. Correct? 5% on cost done solirukanga. Appo 2,63,710 into 5% comes to 13,186. Fine. What is the sales value? 2,76,896. Correct? So that's how they are finding out. Just listen here. Purchase of raw material A 82,000. Have you all got?
Yes, sir.
Purchase of raw material B 1 lakh. Have you all got?
Yes, sir.
Depreciation 26,250. Have you all got?
Yes, sir.
Other direct and indirect expenses 55,000. Total cost of goods manufactured 2,63,710. Paka. Sir, இதுதான் total cost of goods manufactured. அதுல அவங்க 70% தானே வித்திருக்காங்க. அவங்க அந்த காஸ்ட் 70% எடுத்துட்டு அதுக்கு மேல ப்ராஃபிட் ஆட் பண்ணிருக்காங்க. They got 1,93,000. We can find out this 2,76,896 into எத்தனை percentage? Comes to how much? 1,93,827. Round of difference. 1,93,827. 1,93,827. We have gone 100%. They have gone 70%. Correct? Now, sir, we have to calculate the net GST. Idhula output tax collected, sir, since it is an intra-state supply, CGST and SGST would have been collected. Appo 1,93,827 into 12%. CGST collected 23,000 divided by 2. CGST evo SGST evo 11,000. Paka. Sir, raw material A இருக்கா? அதுக்கு ITC எடுத்துக்கலாமா? எவ்வளவு total ITC? We calculate here. இங்க calculate பண்ணமே நம்ம 4,100 divided by 2. 2,050. 2,050. ITC set off புரியுறதா? Raw material B, what is the total ITC? Divided by 2. 6,000. 6,000. Capital goods total 21,000 divided by 2. 10,500. 10,500. So, CGST or SGST pay பண்ண வேண்டிய அவசியம் இல்ல. We are having credit to be in a forward, carry forward 6,920. When output tax collected விட input tax paid என்னவா அதிகமா இருக்கு. So, we can carry forward and next month we can set off. Paka. I'm moving to illustration number 77, which is 2 out of 3. M Limited, a registered manufacturer in the state of Gujarat, provides the following particulars of n period, tax period. Input purchase within the state 1,05,000. Shall we prepare the cost table? So, first one with regard to input. Input yaru? A. Liya. What is the total? 1,05,000. அதுக்குள்ள என்ன இருக்கு? GST இருக்கா? எவ்வளவு GST? எத்தனை percent? அப்ப comes to how much? So what is the cost? 1 lakh. Are you able to appreciate? Number 2, machinery purchased for how much lakh? 1 lakh, excluding எத்தனை percent GST? அப்ப அதுக்குள்ள GST இல்ல. From a local dealer in Gujarat, eligible for ITC, depreciation rate is எத்தனை percent? That means next raw material or input total 1 lakh. Correct? அவன் கொடுத்திருக்காரு. Sir, அதுல எத்தனை percent GST? 18% GST. So here also 1 lakh. So we can say that here it is 1,18,000. Yes or no? So total is 1,18,000. 18,000 is the GST and 1 lakh is the cost. Okay. On this they have given the depreciation rate at the rate of 15%. Clarity? I'm moving to the next one. Manufacturing expense and profit is how much? So they have given manufacturing expenses and profit. Goods produced were sold outside Gujarat. That means interstate supply. Interstate supply. Outside Gujarat means interstate supply. What has to be collected? With IGST at etra percent on sales. Calculate the amount of NA payable. After utilizing the input tax credit, assuming no balance of input tax credit available. Correct? Tell me, raw material A or raw material, first raw material, how much lakh? Sir, second raw material, 1 lakh. Correct? Sir, on this is capital goods or raw material? This is capital goods. So I can't take entire 1 lakh. Ilya? So 1 lakh into 15% comes to 15,000 will be the form part of cost. Correct? The next one, sir, manufacturing expenses plus profit both put together 55,000. Total comes to 1,70,000. இதோட இத்தனை percent வித்திருக்காங்களா இல்ல full percent வித்துட்டாங்களா? ஃபுல்லா வித்துட்டாங்க. கரெக்ட்டா? IGST rate அப்ப 1,70,000 into 18%. 30,000. This is the என்ன collected? IGST collected. Less you are having ITC of input ITC இருக்கா? எவ்வளோ? 5,000. You are having ITC on capital goods ITC இருக்கா? எவ்வளோ rupees? 18,000. அப்ப 30,600 minus 23,000 comes to 7,600 is the net IGST payable. So I have to confirm that 7,600 is the IGST to be deposited in cash. Comfortable?
Yes, sir.
Are you really with me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I'm coming to the answer format. What they have given: input purchase from local dealer 1 lakh, depreciation expense 15,000, manufacturing expense and profit 55,000, taxable value of supply 1 lakh, output tax liability IGST at 18%, 30,600. Surplus ITC available, input less CGST, SGST, both can be knock it off. Capital goods less CGST, SGST, both can be knock it off. IGST to be paid in cash is 7,600. I'm moving to the third question. Sir, with that payment of tax comes to what? I'm coming to illustration number 78. Mr. K of Kolkata purchased goods from Mr. A of Assam, amounting to how much? This is the dash state supply. So what you would have paid? Including 18% IGST. He also purchased raw material worth rupees 1,25,000 from a local dealer who has opted for a scheme. There is no question of ITC at all because composition dealer would not have collected anything. He incurred 50,000 as direct and indirect expense and attached profit margin of 12% of Mr. K sold. இதெல்லாமே purchase பத்தி பேசுறாங்க. ஓகேவா? K sold 70% of finished goods to Mr. M of Mumbai with IGST at 12% payable thereon and 30% finished goods to N of Kolkata with CGST and SGST of 12% payable thereon. Compute the net CGST, SGST, IGST liability and input tax credit if any. So you tell me Mr. K of Assam purchased goods from Mr. A of K of Kolkata purchased from Assam. Total comes so much. First raw material 1 lakh rupees is the cost because including the 1,18,000. He also purchased raw material of 1,12,000. Yeah. So 1,25,000 since he has purchased from composition dealer, no tax would have been paid. Correct? So direct and indirect expenses. Direct and indirect expenses. How much? 51,000. Sir, if you add, you will get total cost. 2,75,000. Add profit is there. Add profit 12% on cost. Up 2,75,000 into 12% comes to 30. Is there any depreciation like that in scheme? No, sir. In this question, there is no question of capital goods. Yeah. So what is the selling price? 3,08,000. Out of 3,08,000, we are having classification. Etana percent? 70% is dash state supply. Interstate supply. 30% is intrastate. Up 3,08,000 into 70%. 2,50,000. 2,15,000. Okay, my dear. 2,15,600. Here. 90. Okay, man. On this 2,15,600, you are supposed to collect IGST. Yeah. So IGST at 12%. So into 12% comes to 25,872. Sir, on that 92,400, you have to collect CGST and SGST. Yeah. CGST 92,400 into 6% and 92,400 into 6%. 92,400 into 6% comes to 5,544 and 5,544. Paka? Sir, I have to reduce the creditor. What and all credit I am having is only one credit I am having. Yeah. இங்க IGST 18,000 இருக்கு. இதுல எனக்கு கிரெடிட் எடுக்க முடியாது. வேற எந்த கிரெடிட்டுமே எனக்கு இல்ல. only எனக்கு என்ன மட்டும் தான் இருக்கு? IGST has to be first knock off against IGST payable. How much IGST credit? 18,000. அப்படினா 25,872 minus 18,000 comes to 7,000. So 7,872 is the net IGST payable. Correct? Here nothing, no credit is there. So 5,544 is the net CGST payable. Sir, 5,544 is the net SGST payable. Are you ready with me? So when you look at the answer, 5,544, 5,544, 7,872. Hello sir.
Yes, sir.
This is what they have produced. If you go through the answer, raw material 1 lakh, sir, from a dealer opted composition scheme 1,25,000, other direct and indirect 50,000, total cost is 2,75,000. At profit margin of 12%, 33,000. So total taxable value of supply comes to 3,08,000. Adile 70% Mumbai, 30% Kolkata. So this is the value. For that value, we calculated the output tax of first one to IGST, second one to CGST and SGST. Eligible ITC, we have claimed again, net CGST, SGST, IGST to be paid in cash is what that. So in the last slot, we have reached 91. So we can add 3 more to our pocket and we can say that 94 out of 100 is what our country. With this payment of tax comes to an. Sir, very happy evening to all. Sir, we are in the mission of completion of 100 question. In that we have achieved 94 out of 100. To that we are going to add one more, which is the returns chapter. And we'll make it as 95. Mr. Gauri Shiva, a registered person in Punjab, supplies goods taxable at 12%, CGST at 6%, SGST at 6% and IGST at 12% in the states of Punjab and Haryana. Yes, furnishes the following details in relation to independent supply made by him in the quarter ending NSR June 2022. Sir, Mr. M, a registered person, interstate supply. Interstate supply. Okay, wow. Mr. B, registered person, interstate supply. Mr. C, a dash person. What is the value? This is interstate supply. So multiple conditions are there. Either unregistered person, intrastate supply, value is 1 lakh. Unregistered person, intrastate supply, value is, which is more than 2,50,000. Which is more than? Okay, that is a cut-off. I will explain. Sir, Mr. M, a unregistered person. In a person? In a state, interstate. This is interstate, not intrastate. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, man. Even though they are in a person, unregistered person, this is interstate. Value 3 lakh. Mr. N, an unregistered person in a state, interstate. Value 50,000. Mr. O, an unregistered person in a state, interstate. Value
2,50,000.
Mr. P, an unregistered person in a state,
Interstate.
value
2,80,000.
Mr. Q, a registered person, intrastate. Okay, fine. The aggregate annual turnover of Mr. Gauri Shiva in the previous financial year was 1.2 crores. The last year 1. With reference to Rule 59 of CGST rule, discuss the manner in which the details of above supply are required to be furnished in GSTR 1. GSTR 1 is section 37 outward supply. எப்படி நீங்க இத GSTR 1ல காட்டுவீங்கன்னு கேக்குறாங்க. Rule 59 of CGST rules inter alia stipulates that details of outward supply of goods or services furnished in form GSTR 1 shall include invoice wise details. என்ன wise details தரணும்? எதுக்கெல்லாம்னா interstate and intrastate supply me to என்ன person? அதாவது registered person ஆ இருந்தா invoice wise details தரணும். ஏன்னா registered person need to take ITC. அப்படினா consolidated upload இருந்தா பத்தாது. என்னதான் தரணும்? Interstate supply with invoice value more than how much? Made to என்ன person? அப்போ சார் உங்களோட சப்ளை என்ன பர்சனுக்கு இருக்கலாம் என்ன பர்சனுக்கு இருக்கலாம் என்ன பர்சன் கா இருந்தா இன்வாய்ஸ் வைஸ் என்ன வைஸ் சார் இதே என்ன பர்சன் சார் வேல்யூ மோர் than 2,50,000 வேல்யூ less than 2,50,000 வேல்யூ மோர் than 2,50,000 invoice wise value less than 2,50,000 consolidated wise. Are you really with me? Consolidated details of all intrastate supply made to any person for each rate of tax ella 12% ella 18% ella 5% ella consolidate panna vendiyadha. State wise interstate supply with invoice value up to 2,50,000 made to unregistered person for any rate of tax. இது state wise என்ன wise அப்ப ரெண்டு பேசிஸ்ல இன்வாய்ஸ் அப்டேட் பண்ணலாம். ஒன்னு இன்வாய்ஸ் வைஸ், ரெண்டாவது கன்சாலிடேட்டட் வைஸ். சார் ரெஜிஸ்டர்ட் பர்சன் சப்ளை பண்ணேனா இன்வாய்ஸ் வைஸ் கரெக்ட்டா? அன்ரெஜிஸ்டர்ட் பர்சன் சப்ளை பண்ற வேல்யூ இஸ் மோர் than அப்படினா கரெக்ட்டா? அப்ப ரெண்டு கண்டிஷன் இருக்குங்க. இண்டஸ்ட்ரேட் சப்ளையா இருக்கணும், வேல்யூ ஆஃப் சப்ளை மோர் than 2,50,000 இருக்கணும். அப்ரிஷியேட் பண்றியா? கன்சாலிடேட்டட் டீடைல்ஸ் பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் இன்ட்ராஸ்டேட் சப்ளை தான் கன்சாலிடேட்டட். ஓகேவா? அது யாருக்கா இருக்கணும்? அன்ரெஜிஸ்டர்ட் பர்சனா இருக்கணும், ஈச் ரேட் ஆஃப் டாக்ஸா இருக்கணும். ரைட்டா? ஸ்டேட் வைஸ் வேல்யூ அப் டு how much rupees? Thus, in view of the above mentioned provision, Mr. Gauri Shiva should furnish the details of outward supply of goods made by him during the quarter ended June 22 in the following manner. Mr. A, registered person. Yes, sir. What is the nature of supply? Interstate. Correct? இது என்ன person? எது யோசிக்க வேண்டிய? வேல்யூவே பார்க்க வேண்டாம். என்ன வைஸ் டீடைல்ஸ்? அப்ரிஷியேட் பண்றியா? Mr. B, என்ன person? Registered person. என்ன வைஸ்? Invoice wise details. Correct? Mr. C, என்ன person? என்ன state? That means within the state. Sir, Mr. D, என்ன person? என்ன state? Intrastate. Consolidated details of supply of 3 and 4. இது ரெண்டுமே intrastateங்கிறதுனால சார் என்ன டீடைல்ஸ் போடும்? Mr. A, unregistered person, என்ன state? And the value exceed. So என்ன wise details? Mr. N, unregistered person, என்ன state? But the value is less than 2,50,000. So என்ன basis? Mr. O, unregistered person, என்ன state? What is the value? It is less than 2,50,000. Correct? Unregistered person, என்ன state? And the value? என்ன wise? Registered person, என்ன state? பார்க்க வேண்டிய என்ன பர்சன்னா? என்ன வயஸ்? என்ன பர்சன்னா? என்ன வயஸ்? That means if it is registered person, whether it is intrastate or interstate, without value, you have to provide invoice wise. With regard to unregistered person, if it is interstate supply and value of supply exceeds, then என்ன basis? Invoice basis. Otherwise, sir, consolidated basis. This is how you have to declare your returns with this, sir. In the last we have done 94 plus 1. Sir, we have completed 95 questions out of 100. Sir, very happy morning to all.
Happy morning, sir.
Sir, till the last class we have completed up to illustration number 95. Once we complete 5 more, we are through with the workbook 100 questions. I am starting with question number 96. 1 by 5 is the target. Sir, these are very important questions. All the 5 questions are important and all the 5 are past examination question. The same can be repeated in examination. So listen very carefully and understand the logic very clearly. And all the 5 questions are solved in the class when we take the class. Oberoi Industries is a manufacturing company registered under GST. They have already registered. It manufactures 2 taxable products X and Y, 1 exempt product Z. So they are dealing with 3 products X, Y, Z. X is taxable, Y is taxable and Z is exempted. The turnover of XYZ in the month of April 2023 was 2 lakh, 10 lakh and 12 lakh. So 2 lakh plus 10 lakh, 12 lakhs is the exempt taxable turnover and 12 lakhs is the exempted turnover. That means the proportion is 50-50. Oberoi Industries is in the possession of certain machine and purchases more of them. Already அவங்க machine வச்சிருக்காங்க, நிறைய machine purchaseம் பண்றாங்க. Useful life of all the machine is considered as 5 years. GST basic assumption is that the life of the capital goods is 5 years. That's a basic assumption on which Act has been written. From the following particulars furnished by it, compute the amount to be credited to ECL of Oberoi Industries and amount of common credit attributable towards exempt supply, if any, for the month of April. So, first you should understand the basics of apportionment of input and input services and capital goods. If the item is a capital goods, it is a one-to-one concept. If the item is input or input services, it is aggregate concept. Capital goods na raw material மாதிரி கிடையாது. Raw material நிறைய இருக்கிறதுனால நம்மளால ஒரு raw materialயும் track பண்ண முடியாது. அதனால we'll be following total method. Whereas capital goods ங்கிறதுனால ரொம்ப அதிகமா இருக்காது. Capital goods sir will be having very few in number, plant and machinery இல்லையா? So we will be tracking one to one and will be sir taking the ITC. For example, இங்க பாருங்க, machine A purchased on 1/4/2023 for being exclusively used for non-business purpose. Non-business purpose means personal purpose or anything other than business purpose. So since this plant and machinery is exclusively used for non-business purpose, this plant and machinery's credit should not be taken to ECL, electronic credit ledger க்கு எடுத்துட்டு போகவே கூடாது. So this is a exclusive machinery. For machine A, since exclusively used for non-business purpose, ITC is not available under rule number 43 sub rule 1 clause A of the CGST Act 2017. This will be termed as ineligible credit. இது எங்க போகவே போவாது, ECL க்கு போகவே போவாது. Number 2, that's it with the story of machine A. With regard to machine B, sir, machine B purchased on 1/4/2023 for being exclusively used in manufacturing, zero rated supply. Zero rated supply is a taxable supply. Zero rated supply means either export. Zero rated supply means supply to SEZ. இந்த ரெண்டு விஷயங்கள் தான் என்ன rated supply? So, if a machinery is going to be exclusively used for zero rated supply, you can take ITC for that machinery, that in one shot. So the entire 38,400 can be credited to electronic credit ledger. So machine B, since taxable supply includes zero rated supply, rule 43 sub rule 1 clause B of the CGST rule 2017, hence full ITC is available. I am coming to the third one, machine C purchased on 1/4/2023 for being used in manufacturing all the three products X, Y and Z. In that X and Y are taxable product and Z is a exempted product. This is called as common capital goods. This is called as common capital goods. So since the asset is a common capital goods, you have to apply the provisions of NSR section 17 apportionment read with rule 43 sub rule 1 clause C. Yes or no? So machine C commonly used for taxable and exempt supply, rule 43 sub rule 1 clause C of the CGST Act, CGST rules 2017 will be applicable. How much was the amount of credit? 96,000. So 96,000 is in a credit, common credit. So I will be marked in the column of common credit, and this 96,000 in one shot I will park in the ECL. I will park in the, but I will not take credit in one shot. I will just bring the amount to the ECL in one shot. ஒரு ஷாட்ல நான் எங்க எடுத்துட்டு வருவேன்னா ஆனா ITC எடுக்கிறது ஒரு ஷார்ட்லயா இருக்காது. ஓகேவா? I am moving into the next machinery. Machine D purchased on April 1 2 years before. இப்ப கிடையாது, பழைய மெஷினரி. அப்ப ஆல்ரெடி எக்ஸிஸ்டிங் மெஷினரி 2 வருஷம் முடிஞ்சு போயிருக்கு. அப்ப இன்னும் 3 வருஷம் லைஃப் இருக்கு. கரெக்ட்டா? 14 before 1/4/2023 for being exclusively used in manufacturing product Z. அப்ப அந்த மெஷின் வாங்கும்போது எந்த ப்ராடக்ட்டுக்குன்னு சொல்லி வாங்குனது? Z க்கு exempted ப்ராடக்ட்டுக்கு சொல்லி வாங்குனது. From 1/4/2023 such machine will also be used for manufacturing product என்ன and என்ன? அப்ப இந்த மெஷின் 2 வருஷத்துக்கு முன்னாடி வாங்கும்போது சார் நம்ம ECL க்கு எடுத்துட்டே வந்திருக்க மாட்டோம். ஏன் எடுத்துட்டே வந்திருக்க மாட்டோம்னா with that machinery we are going to exclusively producing only exempted supply. அந்த காரணத்தினால நம்ம ECL க்கு எடுத்துட்டே, but now we are shifting the usage from exclusively என்ன supply exempted supply to common usage. Correcta? So the credit attributable to 2 years you have to put it on dustbin, because that 2 years you have exclusively used that plant and machinery only for எதுக்காக மட்டும்? Exempted supply காக மட்டும். கரெக்ட்டா? அப்படினா sir it is 8 quarters my dear lovable students. So 1,92,000 is the total credit. It is 5% per quarter. 5 into 4 means yearly 20%. For 2 years since you are exclusively used for exempted supply, 40% of 1,92,000 put it on. That's well. So 1,92,000 into 40% come to 76,800 is the credit attributable to exempted supply already produced. Correcta? So now sir the balance is only eligible. Correcta? So machine D, with regard to machine D, owing to NI in use, change in use from exclusively exempted to both NI and NI, the amount of input tax credit to such capital goods shall be credited to what man? ECL. அப்ப ECL க்கு எடுத்துட்டு வரணுமா? ECL அந்த particular capital goods ஓட total ITC 1 lakh. அந்த 1,92,000 மே ECL க்கு வரும். அது இல்லாம நம்மளால மேனுவலா அடிச்சு கொடுத்துட்டலாம் வர முடியாது. அந்த பில்ல நம்ம ஃபுல்லாவே எடுக்கும்போது அந்த பில்லில் இருக்கிற மொத்த அமௌண்ட் எங்க வந்து உட்காரும்? ஆனா அந்த 1,92,000ல 1,92,000 எலிஜிபிள் ITC கிடையாது. எஸ் சார். அதுல எத்தனை வருஷம்? 2 years என்ன சார்? ineligible ITC. கரெக்ட்டா? So the ineligible credit attributable to the period during which such capital goods were used for effecting NS supply shall be calculated at 5% points for every quarter or part thereof and added to the NS tax liability of the tax period in which such sum is credited. அப்போ இந்த 1,92,000ல 40% comes to 76,000. எந்த மாசம் இல்ல எந்த டாக்ஸ் பீரியட்ல நீங்க கிரெடிட் எடுக்கிறீங்களோ அந்த டாக்ஸ் பீரியட்ல உங்களோட அவுட்புட் டாக்ஸ் லைபிலிட்டி கூட பாக்கெட்ல இருந்து ஆட் பண்ணி டாக்ஸ் கட்டணும். அப்ப 76,800 you are paying the amount by way of adding to the inner tax liability, output tax liability. By that way you are regularizing that 1,92,000. இப்போ entire 1,92,000 க்கு என்னாச்சு? ITC eligible ஆயிடுச்சு. Because ஒரு மெஷினரி வாங்கி முதல் 2 years 2 வருஷம் நீங்க என்ன பண்ணிருக்கீங்கன்னா exempted supplyக்காக மட்டுமே யூஸ் பண்ணிருக்கீங்க. அப்படி exempted supplyக்காக மட்டுமே யூஸ் பண்ணீங்கன்னா that portion of usage, that is 2 years usage, that is 5% per quarter or part of the quarter, that is 20% per year, that is 40% has to be put it on dustbin. But when we bring the ITC to the electronic ledger credit ledger, அப்படியெல்லாம் நம்மளால ITC எடுத்துட்டு வர முடியாது. பாதி ITC electronic credit ledgerல எடுத்துட்டு வர அப்படியெல்லாம் எடுத்துட்டு வர முடியாது. ஒரு பில்லுல GSTR 2A ல entire 1 lakh என்ன சார் 92,000 ரிஃப்ளெக்ட் ஆகும். அதில் எப்படி ஒரு போர்ஷன் மட்டும் எடுத்துட்டு வர்றது? So what you are supposed to do is, sir, you have to bring entire 1,92,000 to the electronic credit ledger, and எந்த மாசத்துல நீ எடுத்துட்டு வர்றையோ அந்த மாசத்துல 76,800 should be added to the output tax liability to make the entire 1,92,000 as eligible ITC. Clear? I'm moving into the last question. Sir, machine E purchased on April 1, 3 years before. That means only 2 more years pending life is there. Before 1/4/2023, for being exclusively used in manufacturing products of என்ன and என்ன. அப்ப நான் 3 வருஷம் முன்னாடி வாங்கும்போது எக்ஸ்க்ளூசிவ் டாக்ஸபிள் வாங்கி இருந்தேன். அப்ப நான் என்ன ஆக்ஷன் எடுத்திருப்பேன்னா, என்டையர் ஐடிசிய எலக்ட்ரானிக் கிரெடிட் லெட்ஜர்ல எடுத்துட்டு வந்து என்டையர் ஐடிசிய ஒரு ஷாட்ல நான் ஐடிசி எடுத்திருப்பேன். எஸ் ஆர் நோவா? Whereas from 1/4/2023, such machine will also be used for manufacturing NZ product set. கரெக்டா? அப்ப 3 வருஷத்துக்கு எனக்கு எந்த வகையான பிரச்சனை இல்லை. 3 வருஷத்துக்குனா 20% per year. That means 60% of my ITC is eligible ITC. Correct? அப்ப 2,88,000 into 60% comes to 1,72,800 is in a eligible ITC. அதுல யார்கிட்டயும் சொல்ல வேண்டிய, யார்கிட்டயும் எதுவும் கேட்க வேண்டிய. But next 2 years I am not going to exclusively use it for taxable supply. I am going to use for common usage. Correct? So machine E, owing to change in use from exclusively taxable to both enna and enna, taxable and exempt, the ITC claimed in respect of such capital goods shall be added to arrive at the aggregate value. நம்ம முன்னாடி எவ்வளோ ஐடிசி எடுத்திருக்கோமோ அதை வெறும் காமன் கிரெடிட்ல மட்டும் ஆட் பண்ணுவோம். இசிஎல்க்கு எந்த அட்ஜஸ்ட்மெண்ட் இருக்காது. ஏன்னா ஆல்ரெடி அது எங்க விழுந்து ஐடிசி எடுத்தாச்சு. திருப்பி நீ இசிஎல் எடுத்துட்டு வர வேண்டிய. எதுக்கு எடுத்துட்டு வரணும்? பிகாஸ் 3 வருஷம் முன்னாடி நான் அந்த கேபிட்டல் அசெட்டை என்ன பண்ணும் போதே, பர்ச்சேஸ் பண்ணும் போதே எக்ஸ்க்ளூசிவ்லி எதுக்குன்னு சொல்லி தான் வாங்கியிருக்கேன். டாக்ஸபிள் சப்ளைக்கு சொல்லி தான் வாங்கியிருக்கேன். அதனால அதோட 100% ஐடிசி எலிஜிபிள். நான் ஒரு ஷாட்ல எங்க எடுத்துட்டு வந்திருப்பேன்? இசிஎல்க்கு எடுத்துட்டு வந்திருப்பேன். ஒரு ஷாட்ல என்ன எடுத்திருப்பேன்? ஐடிசி எடுத்திருப்பேன். ஆனா இன்னைக்கு சார் டியூரிங் த பீரியட் ஆஃப் 5 இயர்ஸ் நான் என்ன சொல்றேன்னா, ஐ ஆம் ஷிஃப்டிங் த சேஞ்ச் ஃப்ரம் எக்ஸ்க்ளூசிவ்லி டாக்ஸபிள் டு காமன் யூஸ். So that amount has become common credit. Yes or no? That amount has become, so that amount of 2,88,000 will be added to the credit, common credit will be added to that. So when you see the table, this first column represent credit. Number 2, the second column represent ineligible credit which should not come to the ECL. Third column represent amount of credit, sir, which has to be credited to the ECL. Correct? Are you able to appreciate and understand what I am talking to you? So 96,000 plus 1,92,000 plus 2,88,000 comes to 5,76,000 is the total common credit of all the machine. We all know that, sir, the life of a machine is how much years? 5 years, which means 60 tax period. Correct? Because in a year 12 tax period is there. So 12 into 5, 60 tax period. So 5,76,000 divided by 60 means common credit attributable for a particular month is 9,600. Correct? 9,600. 9,600 la 50% of the turnover represent taxable supply and 50% of the turnover represent exempted supply. Correct? அப்ப 9,600 ஓட பாதி 4,800 is ineligible ITC which is there inside the common credit. Correct? So common credit attributable to என்ன supply? Exempt supply. In April 2023 இல்லையா 23 தான் இருக்கிறோம் இல்லையா under section rule 43 sub rule 1 clause G of the CGST rules, turnover of exempt supply divided by total turnover into common credit, that is 9,600 into 12 lakhs divided by 24 lakhs. Such credit along with applicable interest shall be added to the inner tax liability, output tax liability of inner industry, Oberoi industry, because sir அந்த 9,600 ல 4,800 என்ன எடுக்க முடியாது. So that 4,800 along with the interest should be added to the inner tax liability, output tax liability. அப்படி என்ன பண்ணும்போது add பண்ணும்போது entire 9,600 is eligible to take ITC. Correct? So amount to be credited to ECL sir for the month of April 2023. sir இங்க வாங்க first mission sir என்ன sir mission A அது exclusively non business purposeங்கறனால எங்க வராது, ECL ல வராது. with regard to mission B sir it is exclusively என்ன sir zero rated supplyங்கறனால 38,400 எங்க வரும், ECL ல வரும். mission C 96,000 எதுக்கும்ங்கறதுனால taxable க்கும் exemptedங்கறதுனால 96,000 ECL ல வருமா. மெஷின் டி நீங்க சேஞ்ச் பண்ணிருக்கீங்களா, நீங்க வந்து முன்னாடி எதுக்காக யூஸ் பண்ணீங்க, அப்ப முன்னாடி எதுல வந்திருக்காது, இப்ப எதுல வருது, ECL ல வரும். how much rupees 1,92,000 ECL ல வருதா சார். அப்ப டோட்டலா 3,26,400 எங்க வந்து விழும், ECL ல வந்து விழும். அப்ரிஷியேட் பண்றியா? அப்படின்னா ரெகுலரைசேஷன் பர்பஸ்க்காக டோட்டலா what is the amount to be added to the output tax liability பார்க்கலாமா. ஃபர்ஸ்ட் மெஷினுக்கு மெஷின் A க்கு எது ஆட் பண்ண வேண்டிய, மெஷின் B க்கு எது ஆட் பண்ண வேண்டிய, மெஷின் C க்கு எது ஆட் பண்ண வேண்டிய, மெஷின் D க்கு 76,800 should be added to the output tax liability. with regard to the common credit 4,800 should be added up. So 81,600 is what the amount to be added to the inner tax liability, output tax liability. Are you really with me? Sir, I just want to talk certain things regarding or highlighting or make you remember certain things. There are capital goods. Ilya, in the question பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் capital goods A, capital goods B, capital goods C, capital goods D, capital goods E. There are 5 capital goods are there. What this purpose of capital goods A? Purely non-business purpose. அதனால இதுக்கு என்னவே கிடையாது, ITC கிடையாது. அதனால ECL லையே கிரெடிட் பண்ண கூடாது. This is the rule. Okay? What is the status of sir capital goods B? Zero rated supply. This is purely taxable supply. இதுக்கு என்ன எடுத்துக்கலாம், ITC எடுத்துக்கலாம். அதனால ECL கிரெடிட் பண்ணிக்கலாம். What is with regard to sir machinery C? Common use. Common use means ITC எடுத்துக்கலாம், ஆனா ஒரு ஷாட்ல எடுக்க முடியாது. ITC has to be deferred or spread over a period of 5 years or 60 tax period. பக்கா. So common use இருந்தா ECL ல எடுத்துட்டு வரலாம். கரெக்ட்டா? அப்ப ECL ல நம்ம கிரெடிட் பண்ணலாம். அப்போ மெஷின் C ய பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் what was the total ITC? Total 96,000. கரெக்ட்டா? இப்பதான் புதுசா வாங்கிருக்கு. அப்ப மெஷின் C ய மட்டும் நம்ம கால்குலேட் பண்றதா இருந்தா this has to be taken for 60 tax period. அப்படினா 96,000 divided by 60 means 1,600 is the common credit. 1,600 is the, this has to be apportioned between the taxable turnover and exempted turnover. Correct? So 800 is eligible ITC, correcta? And 800 is ineligible ITC. This 800 is also there inside the ECL. In the 800 ineligible ITC எதுக்குள்ள இருக்கு? ECL குள்ள இருக்கு. Because entire 96,000 we brought to the ECL. Because நம்மளால என்ன பண்ண முடியாதுன்னா portion ECL க்கு எடுத்துட்டு வர, அதனால இந்த entire என்ன சார் 96,000 ECL குள்ள இருக்கிறதுனால அதுக்குள்ள தான் 1600 இருக்கு. அந்த 1600 குள்ள தான் 800 ineligible ITC இருக்கு. புரியுதுங்களா? Are you really with me? So இந்த 800 என்னால என்ன எடுக்க முடியாது? So what I will do now, I will add to என்ன tax liability? Output tax liability, and I will make this 800 as என்ன eligible ITC, and I will claim this என்ன sir 800. But for this 800 no need, it's my சொத்து, என்னோட காசு, eligible ITC, I will take ITC on that 800. பக்கா? With regard to the analysis of machine D is what? Change in use. Sir, change in use ல முன்னாடி எதுக்காக யூஸ் பண்ணீங்க? fully 2 years எதுக்காக? so 2 year exempted காக யூஸ் பண்ணி, exclusive exempted காக யூஸ் பண்ணி, இப்போ நீங்க என்ன பண்ணிருக்கீங்கன்னா காமன் யூஸ்க்காக நெக்ஸ்ட் 3 இயர்ஸ் காமன் யூஸ்க்காக எடுத்துட்டு வரீங்களா? அப்படி நெக்ஸ்ட் 3 இயர்ஸ் நீங்க எதுக்காக எடுத்துட்டு வரும்போது, காமன் யூஸ்க்காக எடுத்துட்டு வரும்போது முதல்ல ஓகேவா எக்ஸ்க்ளூசிவா எதுக்காக யூஸ் பண்ணதுனால, எக்ஸம்ப்டடுக்காக யூஸ் பண்ணதுனால இதோட ஐடிசி எலிஜிபிளே கிடையாது. அதனால இசிஎல்கே எடுத்துட்டு வந்திருக்க மாட்டீங்க. இப்பதான் நீங்க முதல்ல எங்க எடுத்துட்டு வருவீங்க? அப்படி இசிஎலுக்கு எடுத்துட்டு வரும்போது டோட்டல் ஐடிசி ஆன, ஃபார் எக்ஸாம்பிள் மெஷின் டிய பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் டோட்டல் ஐடிசி இஸ் ஈக்குவல் டு இந்த 1,92,000 எங்க வரும்? அது இல்லாம நம்ம விருப்பத்துக்கு நம்ம சௌகரியத்துக்கு பர்சன்டேஜ் மைனஸ் பண்ணி எல்லாம் எங்க எடுத்துட்டு வர முடியாது. இசிஎல்க்கு வந்தா ஃபுல்லா தான் வரும். அதுல இருந்து நீங்க என்ன பண்ணணும்னா எத்தனை இயர்ஸ்? 2 years. That means 5% into எத்தனை குவார்டர்? 8 quarter comes to எத்தனை percent? 40% is the ineligible credit. கரெக்டா? அப்போ 1,92,000 into 40% comes to 76,800 is ineligible credit. This ineligible credit you will be regularizing by adding to the output tax liability. Output tax liability. Correcta? Whereas, sir, when you regularize this 76,800, entire 1,92,000 become common credit. Yes or no? இனிமே காமன் கிரெடிட் வந்து 1,92,000 minus 76,800 கிடையாது. ஏன்னா அந்த 1,92,000 என்ன கிரெடிட்டா மாத்ததான்? காமன் கிரெடிட்டா மாத்ததான். எலிஜிபிள் கிரெடிட்டா மாத்ததான். எலிஜிபிள் காமன் கிரெடிட்டா மாத்ததான். நம்ம 76,800 பாக்கெட்ல இருந்து பே பண்ணோம். கரெக்டா? இப்ப பாக்கெட்ல இருந்து பே பண்ணும்போது எனக்கு 1,92,000 எனக்கு காமன் கிரெடிட் ஆயிடுதா? Sir, this 1,92,000 divided by 60 போட்டீங்கன்னா what is the sir common credit? 3,200. 3,200. This has to be apportioned based on என்ன sir taxable turnover and exempted turnover. Taxable turnover na 1,600 and 1,600. Sir, this 1,600 you will add to the inner tax liability, output tax liability, because you are NSR, you are going to claim 3,600 as ITC for the particular month. Correct? Coming to the last analysis, man. Last machinery. Sir, machinery E. What was the story? Already used. How many years? 3 years for exclusively taxable. Now 2 years for common use, sir. Are you really with me? Now already you would have claimed what? ITC நீங்க எடுத்திருப்பீங்க already. அதனால இனிமே ECL க்கு எடுத்துட்டு வர்றதுங்கற கான்செப்டே கிடையாது. ஆனா மேனுவலா நம்ம என்ன பண்ணோம்னா இந்த மிஷினரியோட ஐடிசி ஆன how much 2,88,000 என்ன கிரெடிட் கூட ஆட் பண்ணிக்கணும் என்ன கிரெடிட் கூட ஆட் பண்ணி காமன் கிரெடிட் கூட ஆட் பண்ணிக்கணும் நான் அவுட்புட் டாக்ஸ் கூட ஆட் பண்ண வேண்டிய என்ன இல்ல பிகாஸ் முதல் 3 வருஷம் நான் எக்ஸ்க்ளூசிவா எதுக்காக தான் யூஸ் பண்ணிருக்கேன் அதனால நான் எதுவும் ஆட் பேக் பண்ண வேண்டிய சார் நான் வந்து எக்ஸ்க்ளூசிவா எக்ஸம்ப்டடுக்காக யூஸ் பண்ணி டாக்ஸபிளுக்கு எடுத்துட்டு வர்றேன்னா நான் அந்த 2 வருஷத்தோட இது என்ன பண்ணிட்டு ரெகுலரைஸ் பண்றதுக்காக அவுட்புட் டாக்ஸ் லைபிலிட்டி கூட ஆட் பண்ணிட்டு எடுத்துட்டு வரணும் ஒத்துக்கிறீங்களா இப்போ லாஸ்ட் மெஷின் நம்பர் இ மெஷின் இ ஓட சார் ஐடிசி எவ்வளோ 2,88,000 கரெக்டா this the entire 2,88,000 will become என்ன credit common credit correcta divided by how much 60 comes to 4,800 this has to be apportion class by how many category so 4,800 into 50% comes to 2,400 and here 4,800 into 50% comes to 2,400 this 2,400 has to be added to the inner tax liability output tax liability so when you see you tell me with regard to machine A there is no problem at all machine A sir there is no N at all ITC at all correct with regard to machine N sir B what is the amount of ITC 50 38 so the entire 38,400 you can take as ITC in one shot with regard to machine C it is common usage how much is the amount credited to ECL 96,000 will fall in ECL divided by நம்ம 60 போட்டுட்டோம் அந்த 96,000 divided by 60 போட்டப்ப 1,600 கிடைச்சிச்சு அதுல 800 rupees eligible ITC and 800 added to the inner tax liability output tax liability அப்ப output tax liability ல ஒரு 800 add பண்ணுமா சார் 800 நம்ம add பண்ணுவோம் inner tax liability கூட output tax liability கூட appreciate பண்றீங்களா then with regard to D actually முன்னாடி நீங்க exempted use தான பண்ணிருந்தீங்க இப்போ நீங்க அத வந்து common use க்கு எடுத்துட்டு வர்றீங்களா அப்ப நீங்க exempted use பண்ணதுனால முதல் 2 years க்கு output tax liability கூட add பண்ணனுமா that is எவ்வளவு into எவ்வளவு 1,92,000 into 40% comes to 76,800 you will add to inner tax liability to regularize 1,92,000 இப்போ 1,92,000 divided by 60 போட்டா you will get the inner credit common credit அப்போ உங்களுக்கு என்ன வந்துச்சுனா 3,000 அதுல 1,600 you have to add to the inner tax liability output tax liability are you understanding the story அப்ப output tax liability அதுல ஒரு 1,600 so 76,800 plus 1,600 comes to 78,400 you will add to the output tax liability on account of machine D come to machine E 3 வருஷம் நீங்க எதுக்காக தான் யூஸ் பண்ணிருந்தீங்க exclusively taxable காக யூஸ் பண்ண அதனால எது output tax liability கூட ஆட் பண்ண வேண்டிய regularize பண்ண வேண்டிய the entire which how much credit 2,88,000 will be treated as common credit 2,88,000 divided by 60 comes to 4,800 adila 2,400 should be added to the output tax liability so output tax liability come to 2,400 appreciate பண்றீங்களா so first machine க்கு output tax liability எதுவுமே இல்ல second machine க்கு output tax liability எதுவுமே இல்ல third machine க்கு எவ்வளவு 800 total 800 கரெக்ட்டா fourth machine க்கு எவ்வளவு 78,400 fifth machine க்கு எவ்வளவு 2,400 so how much 81,600 you have to add to the inner tax liability output tax liability this is what the detailed explanation of asset by asset now with regard to the first machine you will not credit any amount to the ECL but with regard to the second machine you will credit 38,400 to the ECL with regard to the third machine sir you will credit 96,000 in one shot to the ECL with regard to the fourth machine you will credit 1,92,000 to the ECL am I right with regard to the fifth machine nothing will be credited to ECL so 3,26,400 is what you will be crediting to ECL with that we are through with one of the expected question for examination. This is a past examination question, apportionment of capital goods. Are you really with me? 10 mark asked question, the same question can be repeated. So in the coming slot, we will be solving question number 97, which is the continuation of section 17. Sir, very happy morning to all. Sir, we are in the mission of completion of 100 question from section 7 to section 53. In that, we have completed 96 question out of 100 and we are moving into the 97th question. This 97th question is a special provision applicable to banking company and NBFC. Yarku? Sir, Act is giving an option to banking company and NBFC. Either you travel through normal route or you travel through 50% route. Or you travel through? So, Punjab National Bank provides the following information for the month of November. Eligible ITC, CGST and SGST available on input received 16,020 and 16,020. Okay. Eligible ITC credit, CGST and SGST available on input service avail 11,340, 11,340. So if you add, you will get the total. Total ITC available with the bank. Value of taxable supply of service, only how much lakh? 11 lakh. Value of exempt supply of service, 10 lakh. Determine the amount of ITC available to Punjab National Bank for the month of November and also determine the SGST and CGST liability. Sir, as per section 17 subsection 4, this section is applicable to banking company or NBFC 1, 2, 3, 4, 17 subsection 4. Every banking company or financial institution, including an NBFC, engage in supply of service by way of accepting deposit or extending loans or advance as the option either to avail of every month an amount equal to 50% of the eligible ITC on input, capital goods and input service in that month, or to comply with the provisions of 17 subsection 2 of taking credit of input and input service used for making NS supply. That means either they can follow 17.2 or they can follow 17.4. Idhula edavadhu oru option avanga follow pannikalam. Option number 1. Sir, in case the bank opt to avail ethra percentage 50% eligible ITC under section 17 subsection 4. What is the total eligible ITC available? Mele input kum input services kum thanithaniya kuduthirukanga. 16,020 plus 11,340 comes to. So 27,360 order CGST, 27,360 order SGST. Idil as per section 17 subsection 4, what the bank or the financial institution has to do is they have to put it on dustbin the 50%. Avanga flat 50% அப்படியே lapse பண்ணிரணும். That means, sir, 27,360 divided by 2 போட்டீங்கன்னா 13,680 and 13,680 will be lapsed. So, eligible input tax, amount of input tax credited to the electronic ledger. ECLK na evlo eduthu poiduven 50% is that 13,680 and 13,680. Sir, the bank order turnover comprised of both taxable and exempted. Correct? Taxable evlo lakh? 11 lakh. Ethana percent CGST? Total evlo percent? Abdina 9% CGST, 9% SGST. Abdina 11 lakhs into 9% come to 99,000 CGST and 99,000 SGST. Total comes to 1,98,000. This is the total output tax liability. Correct? இதில் நான் ECLக்கு 50% எடுத்துட்டு போயிருக்கேனா? அப்போ less net eligible CGST credit available on input services 13,680. Less net eligible SGST credit available on input services 13,680. அப்போ 99,000 minus 13,680 comes to 85,320 is the amount of net output tax liability after availing eligible ITC 50%. 85,320 total comes to 1,70,640. This is option number 1, which is 50% reversal route, 50% lapsing route, 50% net eligible ITC route. Shall I move to the second option, which is normal route, which is 17 subsection 2 route. In case of Punjab National Bank, opted to comply with the provisions of 17 subsection 2. What is the amount of ITC credited to ECL? Full amount credit பண்ணிக்கலாம். Inputs எவ்வளவு இருந்துச்சு? Inputs எவ்வளவு இருந்துச்சு? In 27,360 inputs இருந்துச்சா? இல்லையேப்பா, 16,020 தானப்பா inputs இருந்துச்சு. Input services எவ்வளவு இருந்துச்சு? 11,340. இது ரெண்டும் சேர்த்தாதான் எவ்வளவு? அப்ப இந்த 27,360 எங்க எடுத்துட்டு போய்க்கலாம்? ECL க்கு எடுத்துட்டு போய்க்கலாம். இதுல 50% ரிவர்ஸ் பண்ண வேண்டிய as per rule 42 of the CGST rules. ஏன்னா 42 is talking about input and input services. 43 is talking about capital goods. Okay? Rule 42 of the CGST rules, credit of GST paid on input service attributable towards in a supply, exempt supply, to be added to the inner tax liability, output tax liability. Ever total credit 27,360 into how much is the exempt turnover? 10 lakhs divided by total turnover 21 lakhs means 13,029 should be added to the inner tax liability, output tax liability. இதே இதுதான் யாருக்கும்? SGST. Similarly, the credit of SGST paid on input service attributable towards exempt supply to be added to the output tax liability 13,029. ஒத்துக்கிறீங்க? So determination of net tax liability of bank for the month of November. What is the tax liability of bank before availing eligible ITC? 11 lakhs taxable supplier. I'll output tax how much? 99,000. Total add CGST or SGST credit to be added to output tax liability. இப்பதான கண்டுபிடிச்சீங்க 13,029 and 13,029 you will get 26,058. So you will get என்ன சார் total output tax அது கூட less என்ன சார் full ITC you can claim because you have added the ineligible ITC. So I can claim 27,360 and 27,360 54,720. So 99,000 plus 13,029 minus 27,360 comes to 84 வருதா? 99,000 plus 13,029 minus 27,360 comes to 84,669 is the net output tax CGST liability. 84,669 is the net output tax SGST liability. 1,69,338 is the net total GST liability. So அப்பனா 17(2) route போனா my liability is 1,69,000. 17(4) route போனா my liability is 1,70,000. So my normal route 17(2) route GST liability is less as compared to the 17(4). So don't adopt 17(4) route for this month. Check for next month. If 17(4) is beneficial in the next month, adopt 17(4) in the next month. Once you adopt 17.4, till the end of that financial year, mandatorily you have to travel through 17 subsection 4. After the respective financial year, if you want to bounce back to 17.2, you can adopt. So this is an option, not mandatory in nature. So every month, bank will check whether 17.2 route or 17.4 route, whichever is beneficial to them. Once 17.4 is beneficial, they will adopt 17 subsection 4. Once they adopt, it will be valid till the end of that particular financial year. So this is a special provision applicable to banking company, including NBFC, either 50% reversal route or normal route. This is one of the important question for examination. With this, we are through with question number 97 out of 100. Sir, very happy morning to all. Sir, we are in the mission of completing 100 question from section 7 to section 53. In that, we have completed up to question number 97. We are moving into ITC in special cases, section 98, 99 and 100. ITC in special cases. All the three questions are past examination question for 10 mark. First question asked in examination. So this time also they may ask a 18 question. PQR Private Limited is engaged in supplying taxable goods to its customer within the state. That means intra-state supply. And it is not eligible for registration under section 22 of the CGST Act. Because since they are not doing interstate supply, they will not fall under section 20. From 15 to 2023 onwards, it is started interstate supply of taxable goods. Hence, it's applied for registration on 25/12/2023. எப்பத்திலிருந்து ஆரம்பிச்சிருக்காங்க 15 எப்ப அப்ளை பண்ணிருக்காங்க that means within 30 days the assessee is a good boy and same has been granted to him, so they can enjoy the benefit of 18 subsection 1 clause A. Its CGST, SGST and IGST liability for the month of February 2023 is 19,500, 19,500, 40,500 respectively, and PQR Limited has to make e-payment of tax on due date 20th March. Kandipa February odedu March la pay pannom illaya. PQR Private Limited has provided the following details of stock of input held on 14/2/2023 and tax paid thereon. What are the rules we have to recall? Sir, once you do interstate outward supply of goods, sir, you will fall under section 24. From the date on which you are liable to take registration, within 30 days, you have to take registration. In this question, PQR Private Limited assessee 30 days la registration apply pannirukar. So the assessee is a good boy. Then the assessee can enjoy the benefit of 18 subsection 1 clause A. The effective date is the date immediately preceding the date of liable for registration. That is 15/2 order, one date before na 14/2/2023 ke edellam input servicesum irukko adukella enna edukalam ITC edukalam. But what section 18 subsection 2 is saying that there is a time limit for taking ITC. You have to take ITC only within 1 year. That means, my dear lovable students, the effective date is 14/2/2023. If you come back, sir, the date is, sir, 14/2/2022. அப்ப 14/2/2022 க்கு மேல வாங்குன எல்லா பர்ச்சேஸ்க்கும் ITC எடுத்துக்கலாம். அதுக்கு முன்னாடி வாங்குன பர்ச்சேஸ்க்கு என்ன எடுத்துக்க முடியாது. So you have to say input received on 10/1/2023, put it on dustbin. I want only invoice date. Invoice date is 11/1/2023. நம்ம வருஷம் 23, input purchase பண்ணு 23, date 1 year ஆன் கூட பார்க்காத, 23 னு மட்டும் பாரு. This is NITC eligible ITC. Input received on 25/10/2022, put it on dustbin. Invoice dated 26/10/2000 NSR 22. Is this NSR after 14/2/2022? Yes sir. Eligible ITC. Inputs received on 15/1/2023. Invoice dated 15/1/2023. This is 23. So it is eligible ITC. Briefly explain the tax payable by PQR Private Limited in cash. If any, PQR Private Limited has not opted for the NS scheme. If they opted for composition scheme, they are not entitled for ITC. So the full story I would have written. As per section 18 subsection 1 clause A, a person applying for registration within 30 days from the date on which he become liable for registration under this act and has been granted registration shall be entitled to take credit of input tax in respect of input held in stock or contained in semi-finished goods in stock on the date immediately preceding the day from which he become liable for registration, that is 14 February 2000. As per section 18 subsection 2, a registered person shall not be entitled to take ITC in respect of any supply of goods or services or both to him after the expiry of year from the date of issue of tax invoice relating to such supply. So 18 subsection 1 clause A should be read with 18 subsection 2 time limit. Okay ba? So in view of the above provision, ITC available to PQR Private Limited, sir, will be computed as follows. Inputs received on, sir, 10/1/2023. Invoice dated is 11/1/2023. Eligible. Inputs received on 25/10. Invoice dated 26/10. Eligible. Input received on 15/1. Invoice dated 15/1. Eligible. So total eligible ITC is 20,700 and 20,700. Question, they themselves given the output tax collected. Correct? Computation of tax liability in cash by PQR Private Limited for the month of February. Output tax liability is 19,500, 19,500 and 40,500. Less eligible ITC, CGST, sir, is how much man? Total 20,700 irka and output tax liability evlo da irukku. Up to the extent of 19,500 you set off against any liability. Up to 20,700 minus 19,500 comes to 1,200 you can set off against IGST liability, and CGST credit cannot be utilized for SGST liability. Correct? You are having, sir, eligible ITC of 20,700. Out of 20,700, SGST you can knock it off 19,500 and balance 1,200 you can set off against any liability, IGST liability. So IGST payable at the rate of 12% is 38,100. Are you really with me? So that's the output tax payable in cash. Sir, we are having a rule that, sir, IGST credit should be utilized first, but here we don't have IGST credit at all. We are having credit of CGST and SGST liability. Are you really with me? And in this case, sir, 99% utilization concept will not be applicable in this case, because in every case 99% concept will not be applicable. Sir, there are certain terms and conditions are there for 99% utilization, otherwise you can claim 100% ITC. I will be discussing that rule in detail in the coming. As per section 49, 49A and 49B of CGST Act and rule 88A of CGST rules, central tax shall be first utilized towards payment of NA tax, and amount remaining, if any, may be utilized towards payment of integrated tax, and state tax shall be first utilized towards payment of state tax, and amount remaining, if any, may be utilized towards payment of integrated tax. This is an expected question for examination, because in order to answer this question you should know the provisions of section 22, person liable for registration, section 24, compulsory registration, time limit for registration within how many days? 30 days. You should know the provisions of 18 subsection 1, You should know the provisions of 18 subsection. You should know how to do the set off and carry forward of input tax credit. This many provisions they'll be checking for 10 mark. I'm moving into question number 99. Sir, the similar question, which is the 99th question out of 100 question. B Limited is not required to register under the CGST Act, but it wishes to obtain in a registration. So they are basically talking about 25 subsection 3. So it applied for voluntary registration on 18th September. That is not a valid date. Grant of RC is a valid date, and registration certificate has been granted to it on 25th September 2022. So the relevant date one day before is 24th September 2022. Come back to 1 year back. 24th September. That is a cut-off date. Correct? CGST and SGST liability for the month of September is 21,000 each. B Limited provide the following information of input held on 24th September 2022. That is one day before the date of grant of registration. It is not engaged in making interstate outward taxable supply. நீ எல்லாம் என்கேஜ் ஆகக்கூடாது. அப்படி என்கேஜ் ஆனா 24ல விழுந்துருவேன். 24ல விழுந்தா கம்பல்சரி ரெஜிஸ்ட்ரேஷன்ல விழுந்துருவேன். கம்பல்சரி ரெஜிஸ்ட்ரேஷன்ல விழுந்தா 18 சப்செக்ஷன் 1 கிளாஸ் A தான் அப்ளிகபிள் ஆகுமே தவிர 18 சப்செக்ஷன் 1 கிளாஸ் B அப்ளை ஆகாது. கிளியர்? ஐ அம் கமிங். So cut off date is 24 September 2021. Inputs procured on 24/2/9/2022. இது 22. அதனால பார்க்க வேண்டிய input received on 21/2/2022. இது 22. அதனால எதுவும் பார்க்க வேண்டிய value of input contained in finished goods held in stock of rupees 2 lakh were procured on 19/9/2021. Is this before 24th September 2021 or after 24th September 2021? So this is eligible, ineligible. இதுக்கு என்ன எடுக்க முடியாது. Inputs valued 50,000 procured on 13/9/2022. அதனால நம்ம எதுவும் செக் பண்ண வேண்டிய capital goods procured, oh my god, as per section 18 subsection 1 class B, you are entitled to claim ITC only on inputs and input services and not on. You are required to determine the amount of tax to be paid in cash by B Limited for the month of September. Sir, as per section 18 subsection 1 class B, in case of person obtaining NR registration, he shall be entitled to take credit of input tax in respect of input held in stock or contained in semi-finished goods in stock on date immediately preceding the date of grant of registration, that is 24th September 2000. A registered person shall not be entitled to take input tax credit in respect of any supply of goods or services or both to him after the expiry of a year from the date of issue of tax invoice relating to such supply as per section what? So we are going to summarize the table where eligible ITC, input procured on 2/9/2022 eligible, input received on 21/1/2022 eligible, input value 2 lakh in finished goods. Sir, it is NSR eligible, ineligible? Because it is 19/9/2021. That date is before cut-off date. So for this ITC cannot be taken. Input valued on 15,000 procured on 13/9, sir, eligible. Capital goods anyway is NSR not eligible, sir. It is outside the ambit of this section. So total amount of eligible ITC 12,000, 12,000 and 9,000. Paka. Computation of tax payable in cash by B Limited for the month of September, my dear lovable students. Output tax liability for September, CGST 21,000, SGST 21,000, which is already given in the question. Here IGST column should not come, because if it comes to section 24. If it comes to section 24, section will be 18 subsection 1 class A. Paka. So IGST vara kudadu. Less eligible ITC credit available on input. IGST how much man? 9,000. we are having a rule that mandatory modalla yarada adikanum IGST da adikanum. Then CGST credit next. CGST credit can be sir exempted, can be set off against any credit man CGST credit, and SGST can be set off against NSR SGST credit. So there is no CGST payable, there is SGST payable of how much rupees sir? Since input of value of 2 lakh has been purchased on 19/9/2021, invoice for same has been issued on 19/9/2021, hence 1 year has lapsed on 18 September from the date of issue of invoice. No ITC is admissible in respect of input. ஆனா இந்த input விக்கும் போது output tax collect பண்ணி தான் ஆகணும். அதுல எந்த வகையான மாற்றம் கருத்தும் there is no provision under 18 subsection 1 class B to take input tax credit on any goods, capital goods lying in stock by the person who obtain any registration. As per section 49, 49A, 49B of the CGST Act and rule 88 of the CGST rule, integrated tax shall be first utilized towards payment of any tax, and amount if any may be utilized towards payment of central tax and state tax or union territory tax in any order subject to condition that entire ITC on account of integrated tax is completely exhausted. First, the input tax credit on account of central tax or state tax or union territory tax can be utilized. Since B Limited is not engaged in interstate outward supply, therefore IGST credit is utilized towards payment of NFS check. And when credit of IGST is fully utilized, then credit of CGST and SGST can be utilized. One line summary of the entire discussion is IGST credit as solved. Yes or no? அதுக்கப்புறம் தான் CGST creditலயும் SGST creditலயுமே கைய வைக்கணும். In this question, sir, since a specific condition has not been satisfied, 99% restriction will not be applicable. You can take 100% ITC. I am moving into the century question, which is 100th question out of 100. The last question from our mission. ABC traders paying tax under composition scheme crosses the threshold and become liable to pay tax under regular scheme on 1/4/2023. அப்ப இத்தனை நாள் என்ன ஸ்கீம்ல இருந்தாங்க? செக்ஷன் 10 ரூட்ல இருந்தாங்க. 10ல இருந்து வெளியே போய் can it avail ITC, and if so calculate the amount of ITC. Breakup of credit available with ABC traders are as follows. Input lying in stock அப்ப எப்ப வெளியே வந்திருக்காங்க? 1/4/2023. அதுக்கு ஒரு நாள் முன்னாடி 31/3/2023. அதுக்கு ஒரு வருஷம் முன்னாடி 31/3/2000. Sir, inputs lying in stock, invoice dated 12/3/2023. Can you take ITC? Capital goods procured on 25/9/2022. Invoice dated is 25/9/2022. Correct? So, since this capital goods has been exclusively used for exempt supply, because composition supply means exempt supply, as per 10 subsection 4, no output tax and no input tax. Correct? You have to disallow 5% per quarter or part of the quarter. Correct dane? Inputs lying in semi-finished goods in stock, invoice dated 12/12/2022. This is NSR before or after? 12/12/2022, before or after? So eligible, ineligible. So in the first concept question, we have talked about 18 subsection 1 class A. Second one, 18 subsection 1 class B. In this question, we are talking about 18 subsection 1 NSE. As per section 18 subsection 1 class C, where any registered person ceases to pay tax under section 10, he shall be entitled to take credit of input tax in respect of input held in stock, input contained in semi-finished goods or finished goods held in stock, and the goods, capital goods, on the day immediately preceding the day from which he become liable to pay tax under section 9. Therefore, in the given case, ABC traders shall be entitled from 1/4/2023 to avail credit available on in the date 31/3/2023. Correct? As per rule 40 of the CGST Act rules, Capital goods credit is claimed after reducing the tax paid on such capital goods by எத்தனை percent point per quarter of year or part thereof from the date of invoice or such other document on which capital goods were received by the என்ன person. அப்படின்னா ஃபர்ஸ்ட் சொன்ன இன்புட்டுக்கு ஃபுல்லாவே என்ன எடுத்துக்கலாம், ஐடிசி எடுத்துக்கலாம். செகண்ட் சொன்ன இன்புட்டுக்கும் ஃபுல்லாவே என்ன எடுத்துக்கலாம், கரெக்டா? So total input tax credit available is sir 12,000 and 12,000. This is for inputs. Shall we come to the capital goods? What is the input tax credit available to ABC traders? Date of invoice capital goods epo 25/9. What is the date from which ABC traders are liable to pay tax under section 9? 1/4. அதுக்கு ஒரு நாள் முன்னாடி வரைக்கும் தானே பார்க்கணும், 31st வரைக்கும். அப்படின்னா ஏப்ரல் மே ஜூன் வராது, ஜூலை ஆகஸ்ட் செப்டம்பர் செகண்ட் குவார்டர் வருது, அக்டோபர் நவம்பர் டிசம்பர் தேர்ட் குவார்டர் வருது, ஜனவரி பிப்ரவரி மார்ச் ஃபோர்த் குவார்டர் வருது. டோட்டலா எத்தனை குவார்டர்? So 3 into 5, 15% is ineligible credit. Correct? What is the total credit on capital goods? 14,000 into 85% is eligible. And 15% is ineligible. Yes, sir. So, sir, 14,400 into 85% comes to 12,240 is the eligible ITC on account of, as per section 2 subsection 92, quarter shall mean a period comprising 3 consecutive calendar months ending on the last day of March, June, September and December of calendar year. அழகா புரியுறதா? With this we are through with 100 questions out of 100 questions in slot number 1 from section 7 to 53 has been comes to an end.